sick and just dying. It's so sad.
It's
scary.
really sad.
Okay. Welcome to this evening's City of Leon Valley Economic and Community Development Advisory Committee on Monday, June 22nd at 5:30. Calling to order, we do have a quorum. Everybody's here. If you could please join me if you're able to stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And now approval of the minutes. Do we have the minutes?
I do not, so you can.
Okay,
so you-
we'll table that
I don't know
and bring
if
it
what she
next time.
sent y'all as far as like in the packet or in the stuff, so if not, then we'll just take it up at the next meeting.
Okay,
Yeah,
we'll
sounds
take
good.
it up at the next meeting, and if we could have both minutes in the next packet for the 15th and then for the 22nd as well. I'd appreciate that, so we could go over them before we come in. Public comment, anybody here? Public comments? Yes, Camilla? We'll bypass that for now. And then we'll move on to item number 4, discussion and possible action on the following items. A, presentation and discussion on the City of Leon Valley's demographics.
So, good evening. I'm used to saying mayor and council. So, good evening, chairpersons and EDAC committee members. So, we're going to go over the demographics a little bit. That was, hold on, let's here. That was one of the requests from the committee at the last meeting. And so Sarah put together this PowerPoint. And so essentially what it looks like is the City of Leon Valley population is sitting about 11,500. We are anticipating at the next census to be crunching on about 12,000. We think our max population is sitting around 15. Persons under 18 are about 21% of your population, and persons over 65 is about 17.4%. If you take a look at the demographics below in comparison to San Antonio, she broke down the ethnicity and race. And so for the City of Leon Valley, we're predominantly Hispanic, followed by white, and 2 or more races is 32%. And this came from the census tract. Our households, we roughly have about 4,500 households in the city. 54% of them are owner occupied, which means the other percentage is either rent or short-term rental or some variation of the two. Medium household income is sitting around 253,000. That number has since changed. We're sitting around 230,000 as the median household value. And then the median gross rent is 1187, and that's also gone up to roughly about 1230 is the rent around here. Income versus poverty. Medium household income in Leon Valley is around 59,000. We sit below the region as far as median household income. San Antonio sits about 65, and then Universal City, Selma, Windcrest, and Helotes are above that. Per capita, we sit about 37,000, which puts us above San Antonio but below our counterparts. And then we are sitting about 12.9% in the poverty level, which again is below San Antonio but above the rest of your counterpoints and the nation. Your labor force is sitting around 63%, which puts us in the middle, roughly. And that is, it's hard to say. This one is kind of one of those labor force because you have retirees that also fall into that category. So to me, it's not necessarily a true depiction of labor force versus non-labor force. Yeah.
So has our labor force participation gone up or down since COVID? That's the key thing, because we have so many people that left the labor force in COVID and never entered back.
Yeah, so for us, we've stayed, COVID really didn't impact our labor force too much. because the majority of people here and sit in like the retail space and in the medical field, that they were considered like essential workers during that time frame. So we didn't see a huge impact. I didn't even know we went through COVID because I was here every day. So you have a lot of that workforce here. So if you take a look at our business sector, the majority of retail sales sits around 786 million. You have healthcare and social assistance sitting around 59. Accommodations and food services about 58, and then transportation and warehouses about 32. So the majority of our sales come from retail sales. And that's contributed mainly to like H-E-B, Walgreens, Hobby Lobby are your bigger contributors. But the ones that people don't really kind of think about are like McCoy's Lumber. Elliott Electric is another big contributor to our sales tax, our retail sales. Educational attainment, our educational attainment here, the majority are high school graduates, but we do kind of sit below in the bachelor's degree higher education arena in comparison to the nation and our counterparts. This snippet was taken last year, and essentially it's a 10-mile radius from the city of Leon Valley. We don't look at Leon Valley's population as just the 11,000. We take a look at they use minutes. When I first started out in economic development, they used to use miles, and it used to be like 20 miles outside of your city. But now they use a 10-minute drive time. And so the population within 10 minutes is about 206,000. During the day, my resident population is nowhere near 11,000. It cusps about 50,000 because of Bandera Road and Grissom Road. And so we care for the people that we call it our transient population. And people relate transient to homeless, but we relate transient to people that don't necessarily live here, but are here during the day, either working or driving through our city. Average income within that 10-minute radius goes up to about 73,000. Home ownership versus ownership, you can kind of see it's still an even split. Education does go up a little bit. Your ethnicity changes a little bit as well. But for the most part, your snapshot of Leon Valley also depicts your 10-minute drive time. So just an overall swatch. You took a look at strengths and weaknesses. Your strength is high consumer traffic in established corridors and healthcare and service sector demand. Weakness is limited tourism and hospitality, older commercial developments, and limited sites. Some opportunities, destination dining, some small business incubation, professional and healthcare service attractions. Some threat is congestion and competition from other city developments. So she just kind of went over next steps. We can touch on this just a little bit after I kind of run through next agenda item before we go through next steps. I have questions on the demographics.
Can we get that PowerPoint either sent to us or put in the binders or both?
Y'all were supposed to get it this evening in the binders, and I haven't ran a committee in a little bit of a time, and so I did not print packets for y'all this evening, and so but we'll make sure it gets emailed to y'all, and we'll get you some packets.
Thank you. And then anybody else have any questions on that before we move to the next one?
No, that's really well done. Thank you.
Okay.
And then the next item, 4B, discussion and possible action on determination of a committee policy or objective focus for council consideration.
So I think y'all asked her maybe for some ideas, and so I told her to come up with 3 so that way we don't kind of go off on a tangent. She came up with review vacant buildings and identify priority sites for the future redevelopment and demolition. So we would ask council that that's what we would do, and then as a committee, we would, have some open discussion on what that would look like. Next is maybe another item would be review of facade and building improvement programs. So kind of taking a look like what we have available. Maybe y'all want to look at those policies instead of actual like building and infrastructure. So stories of success, identify maybe some enhancements to our current policies. Or just an attraction project, and she threw out Sonic, but there's also the vet clinic, which is on the inside of 410, and The Comfort Cafe is an interesting one. That one really is a think outside your box because it's in a floodplain. So whatever gets built there would have to be built almost on stilts, or it would have to be a smaller footprint than the building that was there before.
Are we talking about the shopping center across from Haas Road where the Comfort Cafe is, or is this a different?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Original.
Sorry, yes. So where HEB is at,
Okay.
and you take a look to the right where the Jiffy Lube is at, there was a correct, and that's why it's in the floodplain. There was a famous Mexican restaurant in town that like kind of evolved there, and it was called Chacho's Cafe. And it was like, if you Google it, it had a whole history. It was a whole thing. The father of that ownership passed away. His kids took it over. Of course, couldn't run it like good old dad. And so they decided to no longer run the restaurant. They sold it to a different company, and the company rented it out to Comfort Cafe. And it was Comfort Cafe for quite a bit of time. It was a Russian restaurant for like a blink, but then it became Comfort Cafe, and it was ran as Comfort Cafe. Comfort Cafe left and went to Los Patios, was where they relocated to. They ended up with an agreement. And during that time, homeless kind of moved into the restaurant. It really became in disarray. And so they were fortunately had to tear down the building. And the owner that tore down the building didn't realize, I don't think, that it was in a floodplain. He thought he was going to be able to like just pop up a building there. And so that comes with
Additional insurance requirements.
correct. And so that is something that this committee could take, like, again, that's like a project that we could take a look at, see if there's incentives, get with the property owner, and see if that's something we want to work on. That is a little bit more of a complex project versus Sonic, which is like out of the floodplain. It is just a vacant piece of property. The Leon Valley Vet Clinic, that one's a little odd too, because it does have a portion of it that does still drift in the floodplain a little bit, but not the entire property. They're just
How big is that? That's not a very big property.
no, it was the Leon Valley Vet Clinic, I think, was 3,000 square feet, the original building, and then the parking lot. So they could put like a Dutch Bros or something there.
Is like the overall goal here to try to raise our like tax revenue in general for Leon Valley so that we can eventually build more and more? Is that sort of what we're trying to do here, is bring in really stuff that raises this tax revenue so that we have the
That's a
potential?
portion of it. So
Okay.
economic development in general can be a variety of things, right? It is geared towards sales tax, which would be geared towards business recruitment and business retention is kind of where those two categories kind of fall into. The other big part of economic development, like you'll hear on a larger scale, the city of San Antonio talk about like the Toyota plant, right? And how many jobs that's going to bring in the workforce. Leon Valley is kind of the same way. If you're not bringing in somebody that's going to bring in retail sales, but they're going to bring in
Jobs, which is
jobs, could help because people want to live where they work, depending on the type of job. So, you know, if the median income of, I don't know, let's say a call center is $20 an hour, or say we get a medical laboratory and you have the same number of people that are going to be there, but the median average hourly rate is $35 an hour. Like, that's a big difference, because and then that type will bring in sit-down dining, because those individuals can more likely afford to sit down, tip, that kind of thing. Whereas $20 an hour kind of businesses, you're going to get more fast food kind of alteration. But you're looking at that like from a holistic kind of standpoint. This committee, I'm just trying to figure out, what do you want your purpose to be? And so do you have, I mean, we just threw out some ideas, but do you have something else that y'all would like to consider in particular, something very specific that y'all would like to take on as a group? It doesn't have to be this. I just was trying to give y'all kind of a leap.
No, I'm just
Yeah.
asking, just sort of like, so I would understand, you know,
Yeah.
how best to like find something with the most impact. That's kind of.
The
absolutely
Pizza Hut, did they close shop?
So Pizza Hut closed shop. I would like a burger boy there.
No, that'd be good.
You know,
I want the Chinese food. We don't have any Chinese food.
and so, you know, I I know everybody wants sit-down dining, your demographics, you know,
support it hardly.
it doesn't support it as well. I think it could. I don't think that, like, Wing Daddies does very well, and they're considered sit-down dining.
Okay.
Um,
See, I wouldn't
yeah. And so you have Mexican restaurants, sit-down dining that isn't drive-through, that does very well here as well.
We have that Italian restaurant that's closed on Evers. There's a bunch of buildings that are closed on Evers. There's like an old
Oh, yeah.
Italian building, that one looks like.
That's not ours, that's technically in San
Oh,
Antonio.
is that really?
Mhm.
That's interesting.
Across the road.
Yeah, but the other side is ours, where the daycare is on Eckerd is ours.
Okay, cool, then, because
But
that's
the
where I,
cra-
like, I live right over there.
And
That makes
so, but on the other side, it's down the middle of the street, San Antonio, and then Leon Valley, and
sense. Okay,
then,
cool, so then a lot of that abandoned stuff over there is San Antonio, we don't have to, okay, cool, then we
So,
don't have to
like,
worry about it.
Awesome. But here's the
Great,
issue.
great.
Here's the issue. We tried to go into Staging Post, the new one that opened up, and their business model was going to be antiques. So we thought it was a very established lady, she'd run a good business in Austin. Total disaster, because the people that we invited in were like, crap, do we have to lock our doors to get down Wurzbach to get there?
yeah.
Because it was so derelict looking, and that's when we had the big homeless encampment, so that does impact.
Yeah, and that's right
business.
there, yeah, 'cause that's
So
right,
our
yeah,
antique people were like, oh, no, we're not gonna drive through
Yeah,
that to
there's
get
a
there,
bad
you
homeless
know?
problem there.
Cause
and
there's
it's a hard thing, 'cause the people
you gotta-
could have houses
And that's like, that does come to like us, right? In the sense that,
that 10-minute drive.
well, it is in that 10-minute drive, but it's not Leon Valley, it is San Antonio. But I always tell, you know, residents, when they call, you know, call 311, call San Antonio.
I
Let
do.
them know that there's encampments over there.
Have any opportunity to collaborate with San Antonio to work on any, okay, cool.
Oh,
that's-
yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
realize
So
that.
we
That's a
do,
good
we
deal.
do a lot of collaboration with San Antonio. We do work with Gavito's office, which is your council member on this side of, you know, where we fall in her district. And so, but we focus on big projects with San Antonio. So we've been working with them with Bandera Road. We've been working with them to get, possibly our utility lines buried. We do work with them on the homeless stuff. They pitched in to the Haven for Hope
Cool.
contract situation that we're a part of. But because homelessness is such a nationwide problem, they're not bringing a paddy wagon, loading everybody up and
Well, you
shipping
don't-
them
I
off,
mean,
you know?
You don't really wanna treat people cruelly either, you
Well,
know?
no, if
People
it-
that are in
the-
that situation, that's not a choice.
But when you come down that road,
Yeah.
I mean, that old, what was it, Big
I mean,
Lots? It was the
yeah.
old Big Lots.
Yeah,
I
the big
mean,
lots and all of those places.
That,
they're
I mean,
just
you're not gonna
awful.
attract people to come down Evers until it's cleaned up.
I give them a different way to come down. So like when we're doing like business stuff, the map I give them is Bandera to Wurzbach.
Mhm.
I know everybody's got GPS in their phones,
Yeah,
but when I was
that's-
doing economic development, I would
makes
give
sense.
them the Bandera to
Right.
Wurzbach entry. But yes, coming off of Evers, underneath Evers where Las Palapas is at, and the McDonald's, that shopping center, yes, there are encampments that take place, and so.
Yeah, there's people behind the Bill Millers, you know, there's some stuff over
The
there.
Bill Miller's
Well,
is
that's-
ours.
That's Leon Valley.
That's Leon Valley.
That's what I thought. And then what about that fish boil place up Evers? Is that us? But there's like, if you go up Evers and you go to Huebner, it was like some sort of a fish boil place that
Oh,
closed
I know
down.
what you're talking about. So that little shopping center is ours too. So it's a car wash. It used to be a boil place.
Yeah, it just
I don't know
sounds like
what's in there right now.
No, it closed recently, it closed in the last year.
Okay, and
Cause
then
I drive by
it's,
there for work.
and
so
then
I
it's a
use the place I see.
convenience store at the corner. And so that's ours. And so that could be a facade type program if that's something y'all wanna focus on.
We do have a wonderful amount of like different grocers, ethnic grocers in us, and that's nice too.
Yeah, y'all do.
It's really nice.
Man, it would be great to attract a Sprouts.
Oh, that would be good, yeah.
You may have like the demographics, I think, for a natural grocer, but you don't have the demographics for, a Sprouts, a Trader Joe's.
I know we don't for Trader Joe's.
But you probably would for maybe like a natural grocer, maybe. I'd have to go look up their new,
Their
Yeah,
whole
with
s-
their-
yeah,
with
their
their-
stuff is.
like Buc-ee's needs like so many square footage of vacant land, like everybody, you know, Costco needs, you know, so many acres of land, Walmart needs so
Oh,
many
yeah,
acres of
not
land.
those, no.
But,
Yeah, and it's okay, you know, I
Even
think
for-
like,
Well, but Trader Joe's went into a strip center, you know, and.
oh, yeah, off of I-10.
Yeah, it's nice.
and we have there in that shop where the Sunshine Cafe is, there's a lot of empty space in that as well. Or not Sunshine, Comfort Cafe.
Yes.
They have that really cool, remote control car place. That
Yes,
place
they
is
do,
super
and they get a
cool.
lot of traffic there.
I know, I took my dad and he just like about died. He was so excited.
Art.
Yeah, we got him for Father's Day, a little thing, yeah.
So again, guys, it's more of like having a conversation of what y'all want to do.
I think I was looking over some of the information I had from over the last few years. And I was interested to know what buildings were actually vacant.
Right.
What
I think
we
that's a
have
great way to
there.
start. I think that would be a
And I
good place to
think,
start.
yeah.
Yeah, let's do that. Like, that's a great place to
I think
start.
that's a place.
So
I
I
love
won't
that.
have that information probably for another 3 months. So Sarah's, so what I do with all economic development directors is I have them go do what's called a business audit.
Okay, cool.
So a business audit is real time of what we have, what's sitting in all the shopping centers, what's actually vacant, what the square footage of those vacant spots are, and it takes a person probably about 3 to 4 months to kind of get that done because they have to touch every building, every store almost, and so it takes time.
Something we can help with, like, that we
That
can help
could be. I mean, if that's something y'all are
for us
interested
to actually like see what's going on and really get an idea of really boots on the ground to understand what we're looking at and the neighborhoods around.
So
it
if
and
that
stuff.
could be a project, if that's
That'd be a lot
something,
of fun.
like if y'all would
Yeah.
like to assist with the business audit, we can go back to council and kind of tell them that y'all would like to do that.
Yeah, I would love to do that.
So,
I was, you know, years ago, there was an issue with people, with committee members, I guess, going to businesses and
trying to get free stuff.
trying to, well,
Talk.
trying to tell them what they needed to do.
Ooh.
And I think
That's not
our
good.
focus on being a part of it, we really need to
Isn't,
know what our
Well,
not
business
job,
audit,
but what we're
we
Going
don't
to
just
do
be
with
going around
allowed to
saying-
do,
I wouldn't
right.
think that would have us
You
talking
know,
to anybody if we did that.
Well,
like, 'cause, like,
that's the thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking
I
about.
do.
So
yeah.
I
no,
think
that's terrible.
the information I was looking at that I had was when Mr. Cox was here, because he's the one that was the director at the time when I came on the committee. So that's the information I have. So, you know, we can go over some of that information.
I think we're talking about
off
more along the lines of just
committee.
looking.
Yeah,
you
like
know,
they-
maybe
Right,
taking some
but-
photographs, is just in general, it's like, okay, this may be a good facade project. I would like to know the cost comparison from the little strip center that you were talking about by the car wash as opposed to one of the big ones. I mean, I'm assuming there's hugely vast budget differences,
So
you know?
basically,
Well,
my
we
opinion-
have, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, like, my opinion is that what we discuss in here that's public knowledge, this is where we discuss these things, and then we keep things in the team.
Mhm.
And after they're presented to city council, then that gets dissipated, but there's no representation with us with the business.
Right.
That's completely
Right.
inappropriate, in my opinion.
Mhm.
Okay, cool, are we on the same page about that?
Uh,
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so.
And
so
we have to
yeah.
be.
Yeah, so, yeah, we've had issues in the past. So when Mr. Cox was here, we wanted to do a whole redevelopment. It kind of took a mind of its own a little bit in the sense that everybody knew better, right? Like everybody had, well, not knew better, but like had their area of expertise. And so I think they were trying to go in and tell businesses, well, if your sign was bigger, or that sign shouldn't be there, it needs to come down, or your social media needs to do this. And if you did that, which is great information in a lot of ways, but then the question then becomes like, how are you qualified to tell anybody like what to do with their social media and stuff like that?
I have no qualifications.
If we're just looking at what's present, like if you got a corridor and you're just like checking off, because what we can do is give you a list of addresses, what used to be there. So our old audit, which Roca did an updated version when he was here, but it's 2.5 years old, and so that's why anytime. So William Cox, the reason he knew he had to go around and do a business audit. We require all our ED people to, because we know what new businesses come in, because there's a C of O process. You have to, in order to operate a business in Leon Valley, you have to come and get a certificate of occupancy.
Are people non-compliant in that very much?
No, everybody's
Good.
compliant in that, because we have the deputy fire marshal will catch you, property managers. I mean, there's just so many that goes around. Eventually, you get caught, because you're either not gonna appear on my sales tax report. There's too many things going on that we eventually will catch a C of O.
Good.
The problem is knowing when a business leaves. There's
Right.
no process for somebody to out-process with the city. So there's not a checkout process.
Yeah.
And then they have nothing to lose. With the C of O, they need us. They need permits, they need fire, there's things that health inspection. So they have to come through us. When you're leaving, I'm leaving. So there's no way for us to know when somebody is not here anymore. And so a good part of the business audit kind of process is we get to figure out what space is available and get up-to-date property management. Because you don't need to talk to anybody. Their sign is normally, we're renting, right? Like,
Go around, tour, take a picture, and then.
yeah, and so then
Helpful, that seems like.
Sarah's updating the numbers, so she has somebody to contact, right? Like, how much space do you have a website? Are you posting your available space
Right.
on Zillow? Is there a way we can help? If you go to the economic development page, we do have a section on the economic development page that shows, some of that information, but a lot of people don't know that exists. And so then they're not relaying that information to us. And so one of Sarah's first big projects is to do an audit. But if you would like to, if you want that to be your first project, then y'all can hook up with Sarah and do that. But y'all have to vote on that.
Well, I think that would be a great idea, and in the same way that we're looking to see if they are there, we'll see which ones are not there
And then
any
we can
longer, so
also
we
see
can remove
what
those
the
from
issues
there.
are there, we'll see what they're next to, and that gives us an idea of like what they can sustain realistically.
Right, and I
that's
think,
a very, step back from anybody there kind of process.
and what do y'all think? Because
I
I
think
think we could
awesome.
just take the city and just kind of
I think we can do
divide
that.
it, and
Yeah, I
say,
think that sounds like a lot of fun,
know.
or we can go in groups, either way. I'm
either
down.
way,
Yeah.
you know?
I would like to go in groups. I mean,
I
if
think that'd
that's
be more
going
fun,
to
too.
be our
Mhm.
topic, or, because, of course, my interest would be dealing with workforce development.
I think
But
that's a good one.
I think this is important too.
I think that those things can go together. Once we get an idea of everything, then we really know what kind of a workforce we have. And I think seeing it, because I'm new here, we moved here like 2 years ago, but this is my first time really getting involved, besides, other things. But, for me, seeing it and then seeing that, but I agree with you, the jobs creation is like the key thing. Like, if we get business here and they don't create jobs, what's the point?
Right.
We don't want a data warehouse here that has 7 jobs. We need something, and I agree with you. And I think that in a group that way, somebody can take pictures, somebody can write the documents, and we can kind of put a map together and do a couple different days.
But we probably need to let the businesses know what we're doing, that we're not there to.
You're not getting off.
We're not
Uh,
talking
right.
to them.
You're not,
That-
you're just driving in the parking lot. It's an open
Right,
parking
but
lot.
I
Just wanna take
just
a
wanted
picture.
to make sure that.
Yeah, so
We all knew
If
what
if y'all
our.
are just going and observing, right, going and taking a look, taking a picture of who the property, you're not getting off and speaking to anybody, you're not getting off going, I mean, if you wanna go inside because you're there and you wanna buy something from Hobby Lobby,
Do not talk about the economic
Right.
development board.
But
That's
we
a private
don't want,
citizen.
we don't want to be in front of, I don't know, I'm
Well,
not
I mean,
gonna
if it
name
comes-
names, but we're not gonna be there and we're out there taking a picture
It
and
doesn't matter.
taking,
What does it matter if
and
we're
they're
in
gonna
this
come out and
context?
say, what are you doing on
We
my
just say,
property,
hey, look,
you
we're
know?
just walking around, checking out the neighborhood.
Yeah, so everything's public, as you know, with First Amendment auditors, as long as you're in a parking lot, a sidewalk, a street, you're within safe space to go. I don't tell them Sarah's coming. I never tell them my deputy farm marshal's coming. I don't, all you can say is, I'm just trying to see I'm looking at business space.
Yeah.
You don't have to get into
Gotcha.
all the
Yeah.
detail, and it's, to be honest with you, I've done the business audit a multitude of times by myself over the years, and I think I've been stopped once.
That's
that-
good to know.
And so, it doesn't, where you get stopped or where you start getting involved is when you start going in, asking questions, when you start, going up to the businesses and like trying to take pictures of it, like window stuff. Like I had to take pictures of sign violations back then, and so they come, oh, or is everything okay? Like that's more their concern. But if you're around the parking lot, like if you go into the way I do the audit for like let's say Bandera Heights, and I pull into the large shopping center, I park by Starbucks, and I'm like, okay, we got a plasma center, Hobby Lobby. Oh, we didn't have Teriyaki Masters is not on this list. They're new. Let's add them. Or
Make
oh,
a nice
that
spreadsheet.
we do have a spreadsheet, and it's like okay, and
Perfect.
the costume shop is no longer there. I forgot what it was called. Let's take it off. Or the yogurt place is now gone, and so you will mark that off.
Darn. That was a good one.
And so then you would mark that off the list. And so, yes, it would give you an idea of what's here, what's available, and then maybe you go from there. But I can work with Sarah on coming up with like not a procedure, but like how y'all would split that up. And so like y'all's next meeting or whatever, or via email, she can kind of send that out and we can talk about it the next time y'all meet.
You've got to kind of look at it, it's like, okay, some of those properties that we talked about, especially the old Comfort Cafe site, I mean, you're talking about a huge effort. Whereas if you could maybe redevelop like the Pizza Hut or whatever, that might be a faster
Yeah, or
turnover.
bring people into some of these.
You know what I
buildings.
mean?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
you gotta
Bring
have
them
to
in as
kind of
good as
weigh your,
And we also need to be sure that the businesses that we do like really make an effort for, that they have the viability to last for, because like, I think that, with the mom and pop, restaurants, those things turn over very quickly. Those are very difficult, to really get going. And with the inflation that we're seeing, I think that that's like a hard thing. So we need to make sure that we have something that when we do really decide on what we want to do, or bringing businesses in, that they're long run sustainable and they're not going to just be turned over. Because that's my concern, like we bring somebody in and they don't last.
That happens all the time.
Yeah,
So
that's a big issue.
the reason that y'all don't have projects anymore is because the previous economic development committee that gave funds away were giving funds away, in my opinion, that weren't considered viable business. Y'all aren't really giving funds away, y'all are just looking at viable projects. And so sometimes we'll put together incentive packages to recruit businesses here. Like we'll do the demo thing, like if you plan to build, then we'll pay for the demo process. Like if say we wanted to redevelop a shopping center, we upfront the $100,000 to demo if they agreed to put XYZ there. Because we know we will eventually recoup the cost. We gave tax abatement, tax incentives to where Rita's is at, the sandwich shop, the old Gold's Gym shopping center up the street. We gave them close a total of $300,000, but in tax incentives, not city money. So tax abatement, sales tax rebatements, in order for them to redo the facade of that building. And so we have those incentives available if an opportunity presents itself. I'm just trying to figure out the purpose of this committee because y'all been dormant for over a year. And so I'm just trying to figure out, since y'all don't really have money to spend, is it like incentive packages y'all want to review? Is it a tangible property with ideas and brainstorming on that property, like a SWOT analysis that I can pass along to council? Is it we just want to wait for a council initiative, like we'll just sit tight and just wait for council to give us something? Those kinds of conversations, so.
more identify.
Let's identify, and then from there, I agree with you that job growth, job development is like really the underlying goal. The businesses are wonderful, but the jobs that they develop and stuff is really the key point, because with the jobs, the business is successful, and then people can buy them and stuff. But I think like this first thing, the review of like what's going on here, and I think just the boots on the ground will give us an idea of like everything, the good stuff, the
I'm
bad stuff.
surprised they're not. Bojangles is going in? Had
At
no
Taco
idea.
Cabana.
Mhm.
Yeah, Bojangles is going in at Taco Cabana. I've got Little Caesars coming in on the corner. Cha-Cha's is now open on the inside, which they've been closed since COVID. So we've got some
The one on
things-
Eckert and Hebner, the chicken place.
Oh, yeah, Lane's will probably be
Lane.
there.
What are they building in front of Cha-Cha's?
It'll be a Little Caesars, and then it's a shopping center, but it's a mini shopping center. It's a Little Caesars, and then 2 other spaces. So what was there was It used to be, I know it as China Bowl, but y'all know it as, Wins or something, I think it was. But it was China Bowl forever for me, when, that used to be my favorite lunch spot when I first started working here. But the building was derelict, and so we couldn't get anybody in there, so we did a demo development agreement with that developer. And so he demoed it, we did, some tax incentives for him, and he's bringing in, the one thing he had to bring in was a Little Caesars, which generate probably about 20 or 30,000 in sales tax, so.
Is there a UPS store, like on the main corridor?
So
No.
you have actual FedEx, but it's right out inside 410, and so they won't come here. But we have a Go Postal, which will, he says, we will ship anything, and I'm like, oh, okay. So,
I mean, that's a money-making little.
so Go Postal
Yes.
does fairly well. He also sells items, he's also retail, we classify him as retail because he sells, during Christmas, he had some like nativity scenes in there, but he says he ships everything, he has good rates. So he functions as the other like small, we get a lot of like small entrepreneurs that, take a stab at stuff, but Go Postal, they've been doing okay.
Good. Now, the UPS, the reason I mentioned that UPS store on Hebner and, Babcock, man, that is a money-making little
It does.
business. Yeah, because we have a P.O. box there. I'm like, Jiminy Crickets,
And they're quick.
There's a FedEx on the inside of 410 next to, but Cavender's, yeah.
that would be an interesting.
Also Panda Express, I know everybody from places. Panda Express.
Well, I like both of those two items on the top there, the vacant buildings, and then a review of that
Kind of feel like they go hand in
policy.
hand.
They do,
Yeah,
because
they're the
I
same
think
thing.
we need to know the stories, or those that have done well, to know if it's still a
Or-
viable
yeah,
project,
exactly.
you know?
That's a good idea. I think that's good.
I think we can, if Sarah could get us that information
Yeah,
on
give us some
the
direct
ones that
information.
we did, or that,
Well, I'm a
Rocky
big
had
like
worked on that.
check a list kind of person. So let's start off, if y'all are, like somebody can make a motion, we can second it, we can start off with the audit. We'll keep these items on a list, and then we'll complete that project. I have to go to council first, technically, get their permission that that's what y'all want to do. And kind of throw these in here so they can kind of be okay, so we don't have to keep coming back for each thing, and just say this is kind of like the area y'all want to focus on, get their blessing. And then we can kick off what those projects will look like.
Sounds good. I kind of think that we should strike number 3 on there, because like, I think
Yeah.
that we need to have an idea of what's going on, and then putting that in there kind of leads us, and I think with the first 2, that'll give us
A good
we need to do those, and I don't think like I'm ready to like.
Yeah, I
commit
don't
to
like
Sonic.
focusing on
Yeah,
the
that's
Sonic.
That's just too focused.
Sure.
Like, I think
Right.
it's too narrow of our
Mhm.
scope at this moment.
I
So
agree.
somebody wants
That's
to
where I
make
was
a
going
I
next.
motion that we put the first two items up for review by the council,
As well as the business audit.
as those the business audit, yes.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Can't find my agenda. I've got so many papers on here.
Okay.
Thank you, unanimous, for that motion of review of the vacant buildings, the audit, and review of the facade and building improvement program. And moving forward to 4C, discussion and possible action on future meetings.
So the thing that I will say is the next council meeting is July 21st. So I know y'all got a little bit of momentum, but it'll give Sarah a little bit of time to kind of put stuff together for y'all. And so if y'all want to meet like the first week or second week of August, after coming back from.
That sounds good. Now, is our old policy in place? We were meeting, the fourth Monday of the month?
So technically y'all don't have a policy anymore.
Okay.
Because that was just established by the board. Y'all are a completely new board. Per your ordinance that establishes y'all don't have, like, planning and zoning by their ordinance has a date time in the ordinance. Y'all don't, as y'all establish like bylaws. And so y'all can meet pretty much whenever y'all want to meet. And then if you want to establish a recurring meeting, like after you're done with your projects, like as we're meeting on those, like we're going to meet once a month or we're going to meet every other month or whatever, you can certainly do that as a body. But if you're just trying to like get going, it doesn't matter kind of when you want to meet, other than it working with y'all's schedule.
Do we need to draft bylaws? Is that something that we're gonna need to do?
Not necessarily. We may get there at some point. I'm just trying to, bylaws go hand in hand with the purpose.
Okay, cool.
And so y'all been kind of floating in limbo a little bit. And so I'm trying to figure out what that's gonna be. When this committee was first established, we were coming off of an economic development corporation organization. We went back to the voters. The voters didn't want that set up, and so y'all are an advisory committee.
Okay.
And so you advise the council on economic development initiatives. But when I leave it like that, it is just random. It is like, we want to focus on workforce development. Great. What do y'all want to do with that? I don't know. Just focus on workforce development. And then we end up in this like SWOT vision statement.
Yeah, and then
Bold.
that takes forever, yes.
And
yes.
so I'm just trying, I would like for y'all to do, I'm trying a little bit different this time.
So, kind of
And
let it go.
letting y'all have like an open discussion on like projects or specific policies versus kind of drilling y'all down a specific hole. Then once I get a feel for y'all are really focusing on these two items, business recruitment, then I can restructure what your bylaws are going to be. A little bit better. And then we see how long the committee lasts. I love y'all, but a lot of times my committee starts disintegrating, or people get lives, or they can't do it because work changes. And so then I get new people on with a different focus or a different direction. And so the ship is always kind of like changing. And so I'd like to get something off the ground before I start kind of seeing that happen. And so versus y'all going dormant for another year and a half.
Well, I think it's a good start and a good focus to look and see what we do have out there and what we do have open. And maybe if we do have a shopping center that's full, we can maybe do a focus on that or something. Look what we have here, you know, we've got X, Y, and Z there,
Well,
you
like
know?
where I Love Churros is at,
Mhm.
that shopping center was 90% vacant. And that was William Cox, one of his big projects. Was
Yeah,
to
and
get
that's
that
what I have
completely-
right here that I was looking at, the fiscal year 21, 22 projects that we vetted. And the amount of money that we gave for those projects and those that are still open in that shopping center. So I was going to focus on that.
So they're, you know, they're about to get a pizza place in there.
Mhm.
So
I saw them working on it the other day, and I told Ray, I said, there's lights on in there. What happened with that,
Yeah,
you know?
it's the salsa dance studio.
Right, right
They're
next to it.
expanding into the pizza business.
I
Because when
was
you
right.
salsa, you need to eat
You
a
need
slice
to
of
eat.
pizza.
That makes sense. All right, so
Yeah.
what was the date you were proposing?
So I would either the first or second week in August. So either August the 3rd or August the 10th.
Either way works for me. I say sooner, keep the momentum.
At what time?
It's up to y'all, 5:30, 6 o'clock?
5:30, good with
5:30
y'all?
works for
Is
me, and-
5:30?
5:30? Okay, so
Mhm.
5:30, August the 3rd? Either the 3rd or the 10th, but she said the 3rd is good for her, so if the 3rd
The
is
10th
good.
works for me too, I'm equally free, whatever y'all think, whatever works for y'all.
The third is fine.
I'm good with both, so unless we're going somewhere. honey.
3rd
So the 3rd,
at 5:30.
let's do the 3rd at 5:30, and then maybe we'll need the 10th as well.
Perfect.
Yeah, that may roll over into that.
Sounds good, that sounds great.
So we'll pencil that in for now.
The third and
The
10th, or
third
just the
and-
third?
Just the 3rd for
Just
right
the
now.
3rd for
And-
now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect.
And I look forward to it.
I'm fine. It's
Ladies.
gonna be fun.
I think it's going to be fun. And maybe we can do the first or second one as a team, and then, you know, we could.
Yeah, you don't have to hold your meetings here. I can split y'all up into groups, like meeting days or nights or whatever. But I know everybody's schedule's a little bit different, so some people may want to go when it's cool. It does get a little hot
Oh,
when
that's
you're
true
doing them.
too.
But I don't ever leave. I've gotten pretty good. I don't ever have to leave my car now when I do audits. I've gotten pretty good that there's only like Reindeer Trail is probably one that I have to kind of get out of my car and check out, and then the Industrial Parkway I kind of have to get out. But the rest of them can kind of maneuver. I don't have to get out of my AC.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Is
So, go
Oh,
ahead.
I'm sorry, I was
No,
just
go
gonna
ahead.
ask you, I know you said there was a spreadsheet, but is there like a form where we can just?
I have an old form, but let me see what we've got. But we'll try to make it easy for y'all to go through there.
If you need any help with that, basically I do data science. It's like my whole job. That's all I do.
Dude, I'm gonna hold you to it. So I have a
Oh.
couple of like,
Look out.
That's where I'm good at.
You don't say.
I love spreadsheets. I'm a spreadsheet
Oh, wow.
girly myself.
I was gonna build a spreadsheet that we were doing this, would have built one, so like, whatever y'all think.
We,
so,
we
like,
do have one. I don't like the one that's currently built for this project.
I'll work on it.
And so, I was gonna talk to Sarah about, Carol, my finance director, is also kind of like Excel spreadsheet. We keep telling her we're gonna send her to the, cause there's like actual like games and like tournaments for Excel. And I'm like, I'm gonna put you in a
Oh
Leon
my
Valley
goodness.
jacket and send you to you're gonna be representing us in an Excel team. She's really good. I'm okay. Like when I see other people and they're like popping off formulas but now with Copilot, I look pretty good.
Ray will have to tell you a story when I first moved in and had spreadsheets for
Oh.
budget and
I have to-
color
yeah.
coded.
We had a spreadsheet when we were looking for houses. I already made a spreadsheet for Sarah where I started writing down just the social media people around here because
Oh.
she was interested in that, and I already started my own spreadsheet with that.
There you go.
No
This is
contacting
gonna be
them,
fun,
No
y'all.
contacting them.
Yeah.
No, just observation.
Just
Observation.
So I think we are through unless anybody has any comments.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
I had a
Pretty
question.
good.
Have
Yes,
we
ma'am.
tried to talk to the business owners here?
So, yeah, I mean, there's a whole kind of history with that, but
Okay.
yes, I mean, William Cox was probably the one that was a little bit, not better at it, but he, really focused on like some of the key industries that were,
spreadsheet.
that would do
His
well.
spreadsheet.
Roque focused on more property managers than the business owner. He would talk to the business owners, but he was looking at things from a holistic standpoint, making a bigger impact with larger projects was his focus. William was focused more on mom and pop, smaller industry. So it just, again, at the time, that was the focus of the committee. The committee really wanted to focus on what they felt was bread and butter, which is small mom and pop businesses here and getting to know them and trying to help them be successful. So we put a lot of UTSA, workforce commit. We did a lot of education at the community and conference center for those businesses. And so we really worked with those during that time frame. When Roque got here, I like bigger projects. That's just how I think you make bigger impacts with those. And so I had some goals for economic development that I gave to him, which he accomplished while he was here in his 3 years. He
Sure
really
did.
knocked those out. He did really well. And so it's just a matter of what the community wants to see. If we want to focus on mom and pop, we certainly can. I think that there is a positive and negative to that. But I mean, I'm not against it.
Could we develop a survey that we could send out, or like, I think that that's a good idea to talk to them, but like, what I think we would have to do is either create a forum where they all come,
Yeah.
And
that's what I
talk,
was thinking,
or
like a town hall
we could
or
create a
something.
survey that we
Yeah.
can send out that they can do online for, yes, ma'am? Yes, I can totally do that. I'm very good at
QR code.
Yeah, we can all do that, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'll pull out we've done this before.
Okay,
Been here,
cool.
done that. So we've done it before. I'll pull out our old survey. What you typically get back from businesses in this particular area is we want no code on signs.
It's great.
We don't want the mean old inspector in here. Y'all nitpick. Y'all are hard to do business with. That's typically the survey results we get back.
So I think my survey would be a little bit of a different focus, like, what kind of rent are you paying? What is your insurance burden? What kind of traffic do you see in your store? I think, you know, before we get into what people want, we have to know what we have. And when you leave an open thing like that, where you say like, oh yeah, let's reduce
Oh, no, it
regulation.
wasn't. I'll send it
All
to you.
commentary?
So it was all
Great.
the extra commentary. It was like, we don't want to fill out your survey, but this is what the city can do better. And so it just, because we always do an open-ended, at the end, we always do an open-ended question, and we always leave like, you know, if anything we left out, you know, and so.
Well, no, not to do that.
And so, but no, certainly we can take a look at a business survey. I think we can add that to like, the list, to kind of see what, where that kind of falls into, but yeah.
Is there anything else? Well, then I think we adjourn at 6:21. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it, this was fantastic.
Good, good
And if
meeting.
you could actually like email those demographics if that's possible, like I'd like to have like a. be
Oh
able
yeah,
to
I will
review
email
that
the PowerPoint to
my
you.
binder, you know.
I know, I'm off with all my binder, right?